choose to love where freedom flies. From my heart where the light keeps shining. And I choose to feel the whole world crying for the strength that we can rise above. I choose love.
Hello. I pray blessings upon each and every one of you, and I trust that God's holy protection is over you for all that you will encounter in this time as we search the presence of God and try to increase in our understanding as we walk through this human journey and deal with the winds of the earth and the different situations we encounter upon this journey. And I would put out a simple question for all people that are watching this video. Do you have personal desires? Do you have personal interest? Do you have expectations? Do you have vices in your life? And as you know, within Grace Healing, we teach the importance of seeking God first. And as you seek God, it's pretty easy to guess that every single person on this, witnessing this video through the audience, would have to say yes. They either have personal expectations, personal desires, or personal vices. A temptation, a form of addiction. And as I've said, we at Grace Healing, we choose to seek God first within all things, including the actions we undertake that are bordering on behaviors outside of God's will, or actually engaging in behaviors that are outside of God's will. When is the last time a person honestly brought prayer to the simple measure of stopping to buy a candy bar? When is the last time a person brought prayer, recognition of God's presence in their experience, before undertaking the act of going out on a night with the girls or a night with the guys, heading to a bar? Have you honestly sought the presence of God within you to bring balance, order, and clarity in the decisions that you will make as you enter into the bar? Have you blessed the drink that you're about to consume? As Yeshua taught us in the Last Supper, to do this as oft as you do, as he spoke to the nature of his living essence manifesting through the food, God's only presence manifesting as a living form within this food, that we receive and recognize and do this as oft as we do it. So if we are to do this as oft as we do it, as we partake of food to bring into ourselves, as we are partaking of any personal desire, as we take somebody into our arms through a loving embrace, are we honestly measuring the presence of God first and extending God before us in that embrace? And I know you've heard this before within Grace Healing, but I feel like it's really important to do this now because there is so much going on within this nation and throughout the world right now that people might be tempted to move deeper into their vices, deeper into the places that they find false comfort, or what they've come to believe as real comfort. Have people honestly taken that night out at the bar with the friends and blessed it before they clothed themselves, blessed it before they headed out the door in the vehicle that they chose to drive, blessed it as they entered in to bring blessing unto the business that they chose to walk into, to bring increase into that business, both through wisdom, clarity, and abundance. To walk into that midst, and then also if somebody offers you a drink, pray and determine whether you are supposed to partake of alcohol, as the natives call them, taking in spirits. Are you honestly submitting yourself before God within your personal expectations, your personal desires, your personal vices? The only way to find freedom from vices is to honestly transform them to a state of blessing, and you join the blessing of God's presence within it to free you from whatever it is that is moving you to a place to alter the state of your mind, to put your physical body at risk. And I would ask you, please, to consider that what if God did meet you in those situations where most people find themselves within their vices hiding from God's presence? What if you brought the awareness that God's presence is with me whether I'm hiding or not? What if you found yourself tempted to be in not just a bar, but maybe even a gambling establishment, putting your resources, God's blessing to you, at risk? Have you honestly brought God with you, blessed the experience, and chose to seek God within the measure of your actions? You may find a new freedom in it. If you have desires for another person within your life, an interest, if you honestly allowed yourself the time to sit before the presence of God, release that desire, raise that person up in love before God, and Yahweh, I release this blessing unto you, that your daughter or your son may be blessed in the fullness of remembrance of you, that each time we encounter one another, that they would feel, know, and recognize your love first, that we might be blessed in conversation with one another, deepen in recognition of the other's experiences in their life, and all that I can do to be your presence with them. This is a very simple process to undertake, but so many times within this human walk, we don't permit ourselves the time to actually engage God's presence before we engage in the norms of the human journey. And I would just ask you maybe to consider that God's presence can free you from the lesser aspects of vices or temptations or desires or expectations, and move you to a place of wholeness, so that as you begin to bring relationships into your life, it is not at a place of brokenness or emptiness. It is at a place of fullness of God's presence within you, and the fullness of God's presence emerges and reveals within the relationship that you're to bring to yourself. Not another person in brokenness, in the same brokenness you may have experienced in your past or generational influences, but another person in a state of wholeness, you in a state of wholeness, coming together in unity to magnify glory, meaning God's glory, for all people to see. So again, it's not two people in a state of brokenness. It's two people in a state of wholeness before God, choosing and recognizing that upon the earthly journey, there will be challenges and difficulties. However, they are joined first by God, and they will relinquish these expectations, these temptations, these vices together as one, and also be able to witness it rise within others and extend from that place of loving, complete wholeness within relationship to those that they witness that might be outside of clarity, falling into the place of vices or controls that are outside their own betterment. So, again, I return to that first question. If there is anybody here that has any personal expectation, desire, goals for their future, or personal vices that govern them every day, please consider the possibility that bringing God into those, submitting them unto God, and allowing yourself the meditative space to first surrender them to God, seek God's presence alone, not what you should be doing to gain these results, but honestly return the expectations to God, return and bless the vices to God. Then, as you begin to engage, allow for God's Spirit to govern you in the nature of your response. You may find that as your friends are ordering drinks, you're not led to have a drink. You may be the one that is the designated driver to have a blast with these people, to help them maintain a sense of focus, and to be an anchor for them so that they don't go deeply into the vice that brings harm to their bodies or harm to their minds or harm to their future in the form of not being able to make it to work the next day or whatever. Not taking that pressure onto you, but recognizing that God can flow through you to bring a sense of clarity to the experience. that there might be more joy injected in the experience that you share with one another. There might be less influence from the spiritual ground that rises from within alcohol consumption. This also segues over to drug use, medication. Have you thought to bless your medication before you take it in? If somebody does imbibe too much the night before, have you honestly blessed the glass of water that you're going to consume within you? Choose to recognize that God's presence within you receives all things of God and releases all the toxins that may not be of God within that water. This is how you can equip your everyday to reflect the very nature of God's presence in each and every action and be in the unceasing awareness of the living prayer of God within you. Unceasing prayer, then fervent prayer. So this is just a thought tickler that might kind of help you think and review your actions each day and the possibility of bringing greater result to your expectations and desires, and also freedom from the things known as vices. Freedom in such a way that you can be blessed in the experiences and not consumed or owned by them. So we at Grace Healing extend you love and thanksgiving for the opportunity to serve you, and thank you for so many more that are reaching out and liking and subscribing. Please reach out to us through the gracehealing.org website, and we look forward to serving you. There are those that may reach out to you through the comments and responses. Please feel free to do so. And also, if you're willing to, reach out through Messenger, identify your personal individual prayer needs, and we can join you in those as well. Have a wonderful day. Be freed from your vices and increased in blessing in all your expectations. We love you dearly and look forward to serving you. Take care. Be blessed.
Yeah.